All right, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Um, I'm starting a little early. Just give me a chance to work out some cobwebs here. So I said I'd start this in like 2 minutes, but actually my watch is not perfectly synced with reality, possibly, which is well, there's a conversation we gotta have. I'm gonna go check something out here actually because it came up. Um, Here we go. Mm, Sorry, golden alkali metal. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be about cesium here, right? And cesium and water. Cesium. There's multiple spellings of cesium. Oh, interesting. There's a few things to look at. Oh, it looks like it's also being used as, yeah, okay. Yeah, so look at that. Okay. Well, don't think anybody's here yet. So, I'm going to point out MC Toon did a pretty good video on this. I didn't watch the whole thing. I was in and out of that one. It was on when I was interacting with my family a little bit and some other things. Um, yeah, so I didn't stream at all yesterday. I had a rough day yesterday. I'll start this conversation out by talking about me, how I'm doing. For those that know me, I've been pretty ill. Yesterday I had a rough day. Wasn't feeling good. Thankfully I have my wife to talk to and my family and a good friend who also helped me as well. To sort of like work that out and realize where I'm at. So, also going to say that I had a call this morning as a follow up for my bariatric surgery prep and all that kind of stuff. Made me realize I've done a lot of work on myself um, in thinking about a lot of things, and that even though I might have gained something from having the surgery a few years ago and getting sort of booted from the program did bring me um, it brought me closer to um, fixing myself and fixing things for other people. Um, it was a good chance to talk to somebody about that this morning and put it all in perspective. Hey PC, good to see you. Crystal's here. Do lick and describe, share, subscribe, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, if you like the stuff I do, please share it, watch it. If you don't like it, scream at me a little bit, yell at me, and interact with me. Tell me why I've got it all wrong. Because if I got it wrong, I want to get it right. One way to look at it, anyway. Thanks for coming by, Crystal. I have no idea if the counter's right. The counter says nobody's here, so she may have come and gone. I'm not really sure. Crystal is a very busy lady, and I don't know if you're listening still, Crystal. I'm really sorry to see how much damage your property and your boat and stuff suffered. Oh, you're there. Okay. Well, you see, it's interesting that you never know with the counter if that's actually an indication of anything. I've never thought it was, but I sometimes wonder. I use it as an indication that I should start being professional sometimes. But I did promise 5 million subs, and I will become a professional at this. And yeah, Crystal had a rough time with the hurricane. I luckily survived, and I tell you, um, if you don't already sub to Crystal, go check it out. She does great little videos, and Robin too. Sub to Robin. Robin's got a lot of good stuff to say. Good to see you, Robin. So anyway, I've just been rambling about my health journey and getting back at it. And yesterday, the main thing is yesterday I went out in heat and humidity and realized how little recovery I have for getting back to work, and that kind of hit me hard. I think that's why I had a rough day. I thought it was maybe the stress of like not working and not having a regular income coming in. Like I have what do we call it, employment benefits through the government that I've paid into for my whole life and never drawn on before. Hey Bree, good to see you. So yeah, so it's I was thinking that was my stress, but I think the stress was more realizing how far away going to work could be. And yes, and Bree, I mean nobody doesn't already subscribe to Bree, but go check out Bree. And Bree also does, and I like to prop this place up, even though I don't get in there all the time. I feel bad because there's so many things to watch. But the transpositions, I believe, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I hope I'm saying that right. The transpositions is something that Bree's a part of with a bunch of other great folks. And Bree's a wonderful member of the science community, first and foremost, and does a lot of great stuff with that. But she's also a member of the trans community. And I think maybe like a lot of people, I think like the trans community having to get up and defend themselves, and for me having to defend myself as a person of size, living with obesity, living with diabetes, like all this kind of stuff. And not that being trans is a disease, but just living with different situations that are part of your life can be really difficult, and sometimes necessitates that you speak up, join a community. And I certainly recommend that you join a community of like-minded people to help you. And if what you have in your mind is hatred and disgust and terrible thoughts, please get therapy and then find a new group of people to to hang out with, because I'd rather have good, nice people. And I did write a thing about being nice, and I'm trying to be nice. And I may not be nice to everybody that I'm about to sort of look at here, but I've been letting myself sort of go through this and go through everything that's happening. And I want to thank everybody for coming. And if you've come back for a rewatch, please enjoy this debate. If you haven't seen the other things I've done, because I'm not well, I haven't been able to go through the whole thing. If you want to see somebody who's a pro at it, do it. MC Toon did this last night, and I'm assuming Crystal's talking about the show that the transpositions had on last night. And I think I was in and out of there, but I can't remember. But I'm pretty sure I was there one day this week. I went and watched some. It is so hard to stay on top of this. Oh, thanks, Crystal. I think that's my essay. I'm pretty sure it is. All right, so I'm going to start this. I'm going to start this debate up here. I'm going to switch the screen to this. I'll start this up. We'll let them play. We left. They were sort of going between Muon Decay, and I think they got onto the train thing, which I'm just gonna. If they keep on talking about the train and the reference frames and stuff like that, I'll probably just let that play and then move on to another topic, just to bring people up to speed. If you're not going to go watch the old videos, Alan's trying to do a gotcha by reading out the train. I don't know if it's a paradox, a puzzle. It's a relativity puzzle, and Peter and Lucas. Lucas is Sea Line Prime. Peter is Peter. I think he has a different handle on Discord, but he's Peter. They both point out that, hey, wait a second, it's time to stop and think. And I think that's where we sort of got to. So I'm just gonna say, if you don't understand relativity puzzles, please go find some online. There's lots of them. Read up on them. I've done them. I've worked my way through them. There's some maths involved in some of them, but others you can just sort of see where you're at with a graph or a graphic. And yeah, Steph was beaming. Okay, I don't know what's going on. You guys talk about that in the chat. I'm gonna switch to this debate topic, but I love all the folks doing this stuff. Yesterday's show, yeah. So, and that might actually be Wednesday's show, but yeah, that's the show where I was in this, and I'm just gonna get this going again.
Question I have for you is: you mentioned that the ether is within that frame. Can you expand on that piece specifically? You said the ether is within the absolute frame.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a translation of motion that comes from the sky that follows sidereal time. This is measured with interferometry. As you increase in altitude, you measure a faster velocity, right? So in the same, what according to what? What do you mean?
What experiment has measured that?
Oh, Yuri Galev, Dayton Miller, and Picard.
Yeah, but I already provided you. I provided you with an alternative explanation for the Dayton Miller experiment.
Oh, yeah. So your alternative explanation is invalid. The Sagnac effect has no relativistic derivation.
That's a completely false statement. Would you like me to provide you? Would you like me to provide you with multiple statements?
All right, so she was beaming. I'm assuming that's not the beam of a sailboat, but I hope Steph's doing well. I think Steph's been having a rough time. So if you don't already know, Stephanie Helms, who's been on transpositions quite a bit. I don't know if Stephanie's still doing her own content as much, like on her own channel, but I think Stephanie's looking for some help finding a new place to live and stuff. So if anybody knows of anything and knows how to help Stephanie, please go ahead and do it. And yeah. Well, Robin's got something else to say. Okay, so I'm gonna try to not pay too much attention to the chat because it'll take me down a rabbit hole. And I love you guys and what you talk about in the chat. And I don't know if the relativity thing will work for everybody, but so Lucas is here on the screen, the way they're presenting it, because he's trying to have a conversation with Alan, who's from Space Audits. Alan has just said something that I find a little bit shocking, is that he thinks the Sagnac effect is proof of Aether theory, or Aether hypothesis, which has been disproven. And yeah, please help Stephanie. Stephanie's a sailor. She's a great leader and educator and participant in the community, and a trans person who a little bit ahead of the curve. So yeah, please help her out. And I won't get into politics, because if I get into politics, it's going to be crazy. But it looks like there's some shit afoot. Yeah, it's really weird what Alan's saying, but this is, if I remember correctly, this is going to go into like a like this experiment proves my thing, and no, it proves my thing. There's a lot to interferometry, but the bottom line is laser interferometry and other luminary tests done on interferometry, because C is a constant. Interferometry is a great way to test motion of the Earth in like a gyroscope, a laser interferometry gyroscope does a great job of that. It does not prove the Aether wind, like all the things that would, the entailments of an Aether, the luminiferous Aether, your ether is not backed up by experiment. This Dayton Miller experiment, I probably won't get into it myself because I don't remember all the details. I'll let Peter and Lucas handle it. See what they're saying. If it jogs my memory, I may jump in, but I think I'm just going to let them say their piece. But yeah, we're just getting into a on sort of on both sides. But I think what's going to happen here, if I remember correctly, is Lucas is going to correct Alan, and he'll probably start having a fit. Victoria, good to see you. I saw Victoria hanging out at MC Tunes. He was not playing tunes too much, but I tell you, I'd love to share. I don't know if Crystal is able to do this, but there's a great song I'd love to share. I don't have permission to share it, but MC Tune did this great thing I'd love to play, is the Austin Whitsitt song with the banjo style bluegrass music, which is maybe not super nice to hillbilly type people, and I'm a hillbilly kind of person, even though I'm a Canadian. I am that kind of person. I love banjo music. I got to see if I could figure it out. I know it's on the Conspiracy Tunes channel. I'll try to find it later and play it, but if you haven't seen it, it's great. Welcome, Victoria. So I'll play this again.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, great. So let me go ahead. I have some sources right here. Let me pull that up for you. So there's the original derivation, and then there is, so you're familiar with the history of the Sagnac effect and its interpretation in relativity, right?
Are you sharing? We don't see anything.
I'm about to share now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Who is Yuri Galiev?
Dude with an interferometer.
So here's a paper right here. The Sagnac effect and its interpretation by Paul Langevin. Langevin, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so what is your criticism of the derivation in this paper?
Let's see. So relativity theory doesn't predict a fringe. That's my criticism. You hold on one second. Yes, yeah. You can't predict a fringe pattern without invoking a preferred frame at the center of the device. relativity theory.
Show that to be the case with any sort of paper or result. How are you measuring that? What do you define as a fringe?
That's how Paul Langevin derived it, right? You invoke a geometrically convenient position at the center of the device.
Hey, this is actually pretty hilarious. Go to McDonald Road. Those are your uncles. Okay, I'll check that out, Robin. I'm gonna start trying to learn my string instrument again. I stopped in my early mid-20s when I started working more than I did anything else. And I brought my guitar upstairs yesterday so I can try to tune it. My acoustic guitar broke a string, and I can't afford a new string right now. But I still have all the strings on my electric guitar. I hope nothing bad has happened to them. I have a really nice electric guitar to replace the one that was stolen from me because my insurance company paid for my new guitars. I went and bought them. I bought it and replaced everything that was stolen from me many, many years ago. And I've come back here. Brought everything with me here, and I love music. I kind of love making music, but I am terrible at music. But I'm gonna try to get there. Bree is talking with an MMA fighter. And you can't stop talking about how much I enjoy banjo. Bree, I love, and Bree. If people don't know, I said Bree is a science communicator, an educator, which she very much is, and I also said that Bree is a great addition to the trans community and a great supporter and proponent and member. She's also a pretty fucking fantastic musician, and I believe she has a musical family. If I'm not wrong, I think she's passed on the musical bug and genes to her offspring. I'm not sure. Bree, please tell me if I got that wrong. But I love music. Oh, you got a link to your uncle's playing. Okay, that's awesome. Excellent, Robin. I bet there's some great banjo and bluegrass music. And I never met my wife's grandfather, but he was apparently an excellent player of stringed instruments, particularly the banjo. And he was born, raised, and lived in a very rural part of this province. So it is something that crosses countries. I'm going to talk about interferometry. We'll not get a strike for it. Okay. I actually, Pragmatic Crystal recommended a video. I didn't get struck for it, but I had to remove the audio from my video when we looked at the one about, it started off with some stuff in Haiti and some other terrible tragedies and atrocities around the world. But yeah, I appreciate that, Robin. I will, I'll probably, you know what I'll probably do is I'll do like a musical special, because I was actually thinking about sharing some of the music I like, and I'm sure I can play little clips. Anyway, PC, it's unfortunate, but I was able to leave the video in, so I didn't get a strike. I didn't get a strike for it. Like, I was not copyright claimed or anything. It was just like, please take this music off your channel. Probably because I didn't talk through it, because I wanted people to. I really just wanted to share it with people. So, yeah, I think maybe what I'll do is I'm obviously going to be off work again for at least another few more weeks. From the looks of it. So I think what I'll do is I'll do a musical special where I talk about the music I like and maybe share links to it and stuff like that. And I'll prep a few. And if you're into that kind of thing, you want to know what kind of music I listen to, I do have a recommended playlist, not specifically for music. It's for all sorts of things. But if you look at any of the music in there, it's because I've liked or enjoyed that music. So, and I think a lot of people have that, and the people may not recognize that or realize that if you like what a person makes on YouTube, they often can have like a shared playlist. And I have private playlists of things I just want to go back to that I'm not, it's not that I want to hide what I've been looking at so much as it's kind of a clusterfuck of things that I'm interested in. My ADHD style approach isn't so great. But anyway, I was going to say fringe shift is a prediction of relativity. And it's because, and this is important, it's because C is constant. C being a constant is a very important part of relativity. And because C is a constant, when you move an interferometer that uses light, one path of light takes longer than the other, and you get an interference pattern. If nothing was moving, there would be no interference pattern. The conversation that Alan will try to jumble up into preferred and non-preferred reference frames in Aether wind, etc., is something that I feel like, because I understand relativity to a point, and I give myself 3% of all of relativity as something I understand, it could be 4%. It's not more than that. It's a very complex topic. And I may be Dunning-Kruger out of the wazoo with even thinking I have that much understanding. But it's something that's been proven multiple times. It does make sense. And I'm going to let these guys talk again because I am trying to review this. Yeah, and Victoria's comment is quite good. I'll put this up here and just say this because part of what I'm talking about is these people and how they do it. I think Alan is very earnest and convinced. He has dug himself into a hole and can see quite clearly there. Shane person is a deceiver. He has little to no understanding of the topics. Yeah, and that is true. Shane is an idiot that has an extensive vocabulary, doesn't understand the words in him. Alan thinks he's got this figured out, and he's basically and I've seen and I understand he's had this cognitive dissonance. Dissonance? I don't think it's dissidence, it's dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is something that afflicts him. And also got to say, because my name's Al, but Alan is actually my full name, which I don't go by. But every time I hear it, I feel like somebody's trying to talk to me too. So it's kind of weird. Okay, Victoria, that's good. For what it's worth, we get on the train. You know what? And I haven't checked this one. But what I would say is that this idea of, do these things happen simultaneously or not? Once you check it, you can find out, does this happen or does it not happen? And I did one of these puzzles, but it was a spaceship that, like, if you a laser beam or a cannon or a photon cannon or some sort of sci-fi scenario is going to happen, and if you flew through this point identified in space. So if you're at point XYZ, like X1, Y1, Z1, if you pass that point at a point in time in one reference frame, this thing would hit you. And once you did the math, you could see whether that would actually happen or not. And once you figured it out, you could actually see, no, the ship that you're on and this don't happen. Hey, Logan, welcome. Yeah, you did catch a live, because I don't do them. I don't plan anything. I do it when I feel like I can, and that's how I feel right now. Just because I've been unwell. So I'll go back to this thing. I'm gonna see how Lucas handles this and see how Alan handles it. I don't remember exactly how they fought this, but it was. I don't think they agreed on it.
Motion to be relative.
In the derivation, walk me through where that happens. Because that's an affirmative claim. Now you're saying that this is an invalid representation of the phenomena, and I can pull up a large number, if my computer will cooperate with me. I have a large number of papers here. So
large number.
Yeah, I mean, I'm learning from the best. You guys have good papers, so I got to keep up. You know what I mean?
Dude, how come every question is you ask us 6 more questions and don't answer any of our questions? How come we have to answer all your scattergun bullshit?
It's fine. Because you're making a strong affirmative claim on this absolute reference frame, and thus far.
So listen. I got you. Here we go. So this is the Dufour and Prunet Sagnac experiment that they did, right?
Yeah. Let's take a look.
This is this is their configuration they had here. Okay.
Oh, you're showing your screen. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to explain it should be sharing, right? Okay. Now, here's Paul Langevin trying to explain it through using general relativity. Right?
I don't see it. I just see
I
you
don't think you're
scroll
sharing.
some stuff on. Yeah.
Yeah. I got to stop my screen share thing.
Yeah, watch my webcam.
You already have it. Yeah. Okay.
We could do that too.
Okay. So this is their apparatus. They had
But
a
I
spinning
cannot
table.
resolve anything in that small thing. You need to show it.
Click on it.
Click
I
on it and
think
make it
he's
center.
he's fixed it
Yeah,
now, but it is very
Well,
blurry.
it's still just.
I'm just curious. Okay, so let's talk through this. So
Okay,
This is
let me talk
better.
for a second then, instead of you
absolutely.
half talking
Yeah.
for me. Okay, so the Sagnac effect here, right? They had this experiment where they have a rotating table and they have a stationary table on top of it. They're using angled 45-degree mirrors and a source that's stuck to.
That's okay. Brainless. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, absolutely. Go watch Mango. Mango may or may not be talking about Aether cosmology and relativity. But Mango does. She does review videos like this, but she does them about. Oh, I forget what that lady's name is. Just Brainless. Don't post any terrible videos, please. Yeah. So what is it? Oh, Joe's here too. I didn't see Joe come in. 3 friends are watch. Yeah. Anyway, Brainless, go watch Mango. Give her some support. If you get bored later, you can watch me go through Relativity versus Aether, which I've been doing all week except for yesterday. Yeah, Mango is a great member of the general community I'm a part of. And she's on Slim's channel sometimes. And Mango could definitely use your support. So. Hey, Aunt Jer. Brainless and I are the kind of friends where he could say that. Brainless being frank and rude is fine. But yeah, no, go check out Mango if you're into that. She watches it's Shani. She watches Shani and Friends, and talks about their nonsense. Which usually isn't my cup of tea, but that's okay. I go in and watch sometimes. I have particular thoughts about that are different, and that's fine. People make all sorts of content. You don't have to love everything that everybody does just because you like them as a person. And if you don't like what I do, go watch something else. But yeah, Brainless is a good guy. He's co-host with Slim, and I'm on with them all the time. So I just haven't been. Well, I've been sick. My schedule's been totally turned around by that. So I'll play some more of this. They do have the apparatus up, and I do agree that getting it up to have the conversation properly. Peter was right to get them to get that fixed. It was, I think, just a minor technical difficulty where Lucas had his up before and didn't take it down, so Alan couldn't put his image up. They're talking about the same experiment, but Alan's going to explain why the experiment is on his it's on his deal, right?
To the wall on the lab, and a detector that's stuck to the wall in the lab. The source emits light, hits the prisms, gets split through the beams, and then it hits the rotating frame, and then it ends up back at the wall in the lab, right? Now, Relativity tried to explain this experiment, specifically Paul Langevin, and he comes in to say, after making the wrong prediction, right? He says, the relativistic theory thus seems to be in complete dissension with the classical theory and also with the results provided by experiment. But given that Paul Langevin appeared to allow the value to be reportedly higher, we considered that the center where the theoretical relativist must be presumably placed at the must be arbitrarily selected. And the relativistic theory found this contrary to the agreement with the classical experiment. This experiment, if the center is obligatory collinear with the center axis of rotation of the disk, this only point on the disk, which it can be a permanent origin of Galilean axis, not subjected to rotational moment. This is despite the explanation Mr. Langevin said to us when he arrived after being informed of the results of our experiment. So Paul Langevin was saying that he could derive this, no problem as a relativistic effect, and he could only do it invoking a preferred frame at the central axis. When you set up for a Lorentz transformation, here we go with, let's see, what was his
name? Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna join in this conversation for a second. What Alan's just said. Now, the way he read that, I found it hard to follow. I wish I had these words. I wish I had this citation in front of me because I'd love to break down the words he said and follow it. And I don't know if it's because I'm old and my eyes are fuzzy. But I couldn't read what was on the page. Like the text was fuzzy. The apparatus diagram wasn't fuzzy, but I've seen these apparati diagrammed out multiple times, hundreds of times for sure. I've seen both photographs of the apparatus and diagrams. So I followed that, fuzzy or not, but the words are hard to follow. And I'm not faulting the way Alan's reading it. He's in the middle of a debate here. He stumbles over his words a little bit. He's trying to read his screen and keep his thoughts together. So I don't fault him for that. But it also seems like he's quoting from something where the language they've used isn't plain language. It doesn't sound like plain language. It doesn't sound like there's a conclusion there. It sounds like more of a description of what they found. It also, I found interesting, some of the words I was able to pull out of it at the beginning was that there's this problem between classical and relativistic. And that's kind of the point of special relativity when this was figured out to determine the speed of light. C being a constant, I still believe is going to be a pretty important thing when it comes to laser interferometry. Laser interferometry is what it is because C is a constant. Hey, Jimmy, good to see you. Jimmy at Tux TV is here, and welcome. And since I've been plugging everybody's work, you know, if you're here and you do something, put your hand up, and PC, if she's able, I know we'll put your stuff in there, because I've been the beneficiary of many people sharing stuff. Tux does, Jimmy the Tux does all sorts of content. Haven't seen anything super recently, but I know he's out there doing it. And I don't think YouTube reminds me of everything, even though I'm sub to stuff. But Jimmy does some fantastic content about religion. And it's worth having a look at. Okay. My wife is letting me know something. So I may have to I'm just waiting to find out. She's at work, and my father-in-law called her, which when you get to have, he was on your show this past Sunday. How did I miss that, Joe? I've seen Joe's done some great stuff. I know I saw Joe and Robin doing the political show. That's another great show. It's not on a special channel. I think Robin and Joe simultaneously broadcast it. That's a great show. They've been, and especially with the political debates going on. And I said I wouldn't get into politics, so I'm not going to. But here we go. I'm going to play this.
Artiglia.
I need to see. Let's see if I can back it up.
Artiglia does
just a wee bit. Can I back it up just a minute?
With the center axis of rotation of the disk, this only point on the disk, which it can be a permanent origin of Galilean axis, not subjected to rotational moment. This is despite the explanation Mr. Langevin said to us when he arrived after being informed of the results of our experiment. So Paul Langevin was saying that he could derive this, no problem as a relativistic effect, and he could only do it invoking a preferred frame at the central axis. When you set up for a Lorentz transformation, here we go with, let's see, what was his name? Artiglia. Artiglia does the exact same thing to try and address the Sagnac effect. There is no frame that predicts the amount of fringes in relativity theory unless you invoke a preferred frame. One second, where's mine? What am I looking for? Tartiglia. 1 second. Here we go, Tartiglia. So what they do is they set up for a geometrically convenient position here, right? Oops, the frame's a little messed up, or the picture's a little oversized, but you guys get the gist of it. The world line is noted here in the center axis of the rotating device for the fictitious frame, and then the deviation here is the rotation for an observer at the rim of the device.
Okay, I just want to. I didn't miss it. You mean I was there and I don't remember it? I mean, I guess the other thing is, if you weren't there, you don't remember everything you saw. You can go back and watch it. So, I think that's great. So, I came in at the end. Okay, so I've got to go back and rewatch the whole thing. You're right. I think you're right, Joe. I think I did catch it right at the end. And a lot of times, well, it's just like what Braylon said. Everybody's streaming at the same time. Who are you going to watch? You got to pick something. So, Alan said that the reference frame is fictitious. it isn't fictitious. It's not fake. It's not made up. It's not a non-existent reference frame. It's chosen because all reference frames are equally valid. That's part of relativity. That's something that Alan ignores or can't accept. Because if you accept that all points of view, all reference frames, all the places in the universe are equally valid places to take your measurements from, then you're accepting a big chunk of relativity. And Aether cosmology falls apart because the Aether hypothesis has already been disproven over 100 years ago. So I just want to point out the language Alan's using. I pointed this out before when I've done the takedowns of the debates earlier. They're using language that's meant to stoke the fire on their own people. And Witless, Austin Whitsitt. I call him Witless by I should be more kind. The man does have a self-proclaimed 160 IQ. He's probably just, he's gonna prove it later, bro. Just, let him finish right now. Yeah, he's in there. He says at the beginning of this, when Lucas was bringing up the paper, he's like, now Alan's going to explain to Lucas how his paper works. And I think Austin Whitsitt and Alan are maybe not in lockstep, but I think they're pretty close. In relativity to special frame for rotation, people describe geodesics as curves. So he's assuming that is a rotation. Okay, that's interesting, Victoria. And Victoria, I believe, is far more erudite on this subject than I am. I wouldn't even describe myself as minorly erudite. I feel like if a truck driver from Southern Ontario can figure out what's going on with relativity well enough to understand why these guys are wrong, these guys should be able to understand that they're wrong. Is this like artificial lensing? I don't know, Joe. I don't know. I have to look up artificial lensing because I'm not. But what we're talking about is the Sagnac effect and the fringe shift, in particular. And so, I don't know. We'll let Alan and Lucas duke it out here for a bit and see what they come up with. And Victoria, I think was yeah, you were over at MC Toon's channel last night, so you saw MC Toon break this down. MC Toon probably did a better job than I did, but I found this an interesting debate because I've been working on trying to understand relativity more and more. I found this debate really interesting because hearing people say what's wrong with it when they have no idea what they're saying is an interesting way to sort of go back and look at your understanding of things again. Like I did with the Muon thing, I went and watched another video, tried to make sure I understood it, and I did a standalone video on the Muon thing. And the thing I got from Minute Physics is definitely worth looking at. Like, it's better than my explanation, but I took longer to explain it than they did. But you got to look at my beautiful face, so it's all that in a bag of chips, right? All that kind of stuff. So I'll play it some more. We'll see what they come up with. I did back it up so we could see sort of how he was playing this.
This is how the relativist explains the Sagnac effect, right? By invoking a geometrically convenient position, always. This can't be answered with the Sagnac equation, or like it can be with the Sagnac equation. You have to invoke a preferred frame. Now, when you get into the derivations for the Sagnac effect as a relativist, you will find. Second. Nope.
I wonder if it matters which preferred frame.
We're getting close. You feel it?
I do.
All right, 1 second. Right here.
Here's
So here's relativity, right? Assuming a constancy of the speed of light for the two observers, right? So we have a source and a recorder on a platform that's rotating, right? You agree? The Sagnac effect, classic Sagnac apparatus setup. Observer recorder on a platform that's rotating. Okay. Yep. Uniformly rotating. Relativity predicts that they're an inertial frame, so C will be measured as C for both of those people, right? So if you math that out, what you're going to get is C going clockwise and C going counterclockwise will be the same speed, which will produce no fringe shift pattern. There's no way to explain that.
Yeah, it does. C isn't constant if you put a big curve in between points A and B by spinning. That's what I was getting at. Oh, okay. Don't know why that would even work. Okay. So what this really comes down to is C is a constant, but of course, it's oh, you heard, okay. It's fringe, fringe shift pattern. Okay, it's so the fringe shift is they'll show some images either diagrammatically or photographically. I can't remember. They do show it, and so I'll explain it. I'll explain interferometry really quickly. C is constant in both directions. So C is it's not a question, Logan. It's true. C is a constant. The speed of light is constant in both directions. They're in the same medium, whether we make a very low pressure system or whether we have them in the same atmospheric pressure of just air or we put them in a gas. It doesn't matter. The C will be a constant. Now it will be less than C in a gaseous matter, for instance, slower again in a liquid matter, and some types of solids will allow light to pass, but some won't. It is unknown, and this is an argument they're going to make. The unknown one-way speed of light. I won't get back into that because I got back in. We were dealing with that in an earlier video. So if you go back and watch my earlier critiques of the video, critiques of the debate, you'll see that we had that conversation about the one-way speed of light. So just really quickly, it's more of like a problem to think about, but there's no other situation in which we would presume that the one-way speed of light not being measurable by current technology and possibly never measurable, but it's worth looking into some more. But just because you don't know, because you can't record it instantaneously, because in order to record it, you need an apparatus, and Joe made this point, and he was on talking with me about it too, which was great. You would need an apparatus that moves faster than light, and we don't know of anything that can do that in order to get our information fast enough to measure the one-way speed of light. But there's no reason to think that when I shoot my flashlight across my basement from north to south, that when I go to the south side and have it go the other way, that it's going to change. Oh, is Wendy here? How do I not see Wendy? Oh, welcome. Wendy is MLMMMM. No. I always just say I just say Wendy to myself because when I first encountered her handle, I was like, no. And I just skipped the L, but the L in my name gets in the way too because people think I'm AI trucker. Don't know how. Oh, there she is. Okay. Yes, Wendy, I'm getting better. I did talk about that earlier. I won't talk about my health again, but I am getting better. Thank you. Yeah, so Logan's making some good points. So one of the things that's really tricky with Alan here is okay. All right, so I'm gonna I don't know how to do this. Can I share I'm gonna play MC Tunes thing. I'm gonna play his song because it's fun, and if he's upset with me about it, I mean, what am I gonna do? It's tune, it's conspiracy tunes, tunes. Is this him? Where's the song? It's this. Okay, here it is. This is the channel. Where's his music-y thing? I just gotta find this. I just gotta find this thing here. Oh man. I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna play it and then I'm gonna it's great. It's great. Here it is. It's exteriorly displayed. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna if I go here and I'll stop the screen and then I'll present again and share the screen and then I go to here it is. I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna share this. Is it sharing? Okay. So please enjoy this. And MC Tune, I don't know. I owe you some ketchup chips, I guess.
A new moon on your model. Probably like a magnetic cycle, and just like the center of a barrel cell image of a magnet.
I think it's probably like a magnetic cycle, just like the center of a ferrocell spiral. Image of a magnet, it's just black in the middle. It's actually pure inertia, not just a little. In the ferrocell image of a magnet, it actually goes into its inertial state, then charges back up. It becomes like etherically displaced. Yeah. You start to see it charge up once more, and it goes back like it did before. Once it becomes like etherically spaced, you see it charge up and take its place. Oh, shucks, ain't that something? That's how moon phases work, fam. Pass the dresser. In the magnet's heart, centrifugal divergence flies. Centripetal convergence pulls. Defying all science, etheric whispers sing. Light and shadow blend, magnetic cycles spin, where physics seems to end. In the ferrocell image of a magnet, it actually goes into its inertial state, then charges back up. It becomes like etherically displaced. Yeehaw! Grab your partner, swing around, magnetic cycles up and down. Either song in the air, hillbilly science everywhere, cause it's like etherically displaced. Yeehaw!
All right, I'm back. I just had to check with my father on making
Who has light vinaigrettes?
Awkward. I don't know what that means, Joe. I probably is awkward. I feel bad that this is how I get it. I love this. I love this little song. I'll remove that there. Okay, so now I just gotta go and yeah, so there's some of those videos took place literally less than an hour from here. Yeah, well there you go, Joe. Yeah, no, I love that song because I love the bluegrass style. I think that was an AI style thing he made. Yeah, I don't know if I'll get a strike from MC Tune. I definitely, I don't want to make him mad at me or anything. And I'm yeah, you're serious, yeah. You know what? I'm serious too. I love banjo music. And it says I lost a viewer, so I guess maybe that wasn't so good. So stop the screen, present. I'm just going back to the thing. But I love that. I love that little tune, and I figured that playing MC Tune's little tune there is good. I know Craig plays it. I just thought it was a good thing to share with people. And AL intelligence. Okay, all right. Well, Victoria, I'm assuming you're not saying my intelligence is artificial. I actually don't have an IQ because it's never been tested. So my joke is that I have Schrodinger's IQ. Hopefully people enjoy that joke. Look up the wonderful whites of West Virginia right down the road. And you know what? I've driven through West Virginia and it is beautiful. This year, the wonderful whites of West Virginia. I will have to check that out, Joe. And one day I'll just show up at Joe's place, and he'll wonder how he got me in his front yard or backyard or whatever. But yeah, undefined IQ could be infinite. You never know, Victoria. So yeah, so I'll play this again. I'm losing. Yeah, we won't get into that conversation. But here we go. I'm going to play the video. We'll see where they go with this.
This without invoking the geometrically convenient position of doing a Lorentz transformation that was shown by Tartaglia here. Sorry,
go ahead. My bad.
Sorry, this was shown by Tartaglia here, where you can only explain the Sagnac through geometrically convenient positions. Now earlier we were talking about Michelson, Gale, Pearson, and whatnot, right? So we have.
Hold on, let's before we go there though. Before we go there, I think there's support. What do you mean by geometrically convenient?
At the center of the device where it's stationary and non-rotating.
Okay, but what is the issue with that?
it's a preferred frame, and relativity can't derive a solution without invoking it. Because
Inherent
relativity
contradiction.
relativity predicts that. So let's assume that link contraction and time dilation would apply to the apparatus. The fringe shift pattern that relativity would predict would be much smaller than the one that's measured, right? Because the velocity is a one-to-one relationship, whereas relativity predicts that the fringe shift would be the square of the velocity over c squared, which would be much smaller than what's predicted.
Can
Right,
you
as a
show
function
that?
of-
Can you show that derivation specifically?
Yeah, that's link contraction and time dilation, right?
Okay.
That's the square of the function
So-
of the velocity.
So,
What's the discrepancy?
yeah. So I'm still not understanding how this creates a preferred frame.
The discrepancy is relativity predicts a much smaller fringe, and it can't do it.
So I find this interesting. I find this really, really interesting. Alan's saying that choosing to take the measurements from the center of the device is geometrically convenient. And surely it is. It's convenient because I think we all understand, or at least I think people theoretically could understand that if I were to have measurements of a point in space and I knew that I was at another point in space, I could do all the calculations from the other point of space I was at and just transfer the math back over, just allow for the fact that I was this far away from it, and the measurements would still work out. Understanding that you're in a different place is important to relativity. And I don't know why I would add in the additional unnecessary math to find out what would happen if I took all the measurements from, say, 3 meters away, like 3 meters to the right, 3 meters up, and 3 meters forward, say, to make sure that I'm at a point that's a 3D point from this. And then, of course, there's the time factor, the fourth dimension, because I'd have to wait for all the light from the experiment to make it to my eyes from that point. But allowing for that on top of all this other stuff is unnecessary. So calling it geometrically convenient to take all the measurements from the center of this device seems more like the way you take fucking measurements. Like this is something that I've done building buildings many times. Once I have a building staked out and I know that this is, like, if someone puts a stake in the ground and says this is the surveyor's monument, shows the edge of the property, and then I ask them to put a stake where the corner of the building should go. I don't go and then work the math out from other places to lay out the rest of the building. I use that point. I could put another stake in and just say, oh, I know that stake's 6 meters away from the first one, and I'll just allow for that. But why would I add that extra fucking shit into my life? Why would anybody doing this experiment add this into their life? The center of that device sounds pretty fucking awesome. All right. And anyway, it sounds like you guys are listening to this like other documentary. I'm gonna have to check this out, but I'm gonna try to keep doing this for no other reason than I want to get through it today, and that's my plan. So I'll play this some more. We'll see where they get to.
You can't do it.
Yeah,
But that's
without
just a
invoking-
statement you're making.
No, it's actually shown here in Tartaglia's paper with the geometrically convenient position that he had to invoke to try and explain it. And then he had to do the same thing for Ruyang Wang's experiment, right? He had to invoke a geometrically convenient position in the center of that as well. Like you guys want to see some, you guys want to see some geometrically convenient positions real quick? Check this out.
Not necessarily.
Linearize it, generalize it.
Where's our boy? So this is Barda, 2022, trying to explain the Ruyang Wang and the Sagnac effect as a relativist. And here we're going to look at, he's going through a thought experiment. He's breaking it down, realizes that even with the gamma factor, there's no ability to explain it. And he goes on to say, though mathematically it is fine, but the physical understanding of the effect from the standpoint of an observer attending the rotation remains difficult. Why is that? Because relativity predicts no fringe shift pattern. We have post in what was it? Post in what was it? 1967. Right, we're going to read a comment from Post. 1967. To be consistent with the principles of relativity, one has to demand that the Sagnac interferometer ring laser cannot lead to a fringe shift or a beat frequency if the equipment is in uniform translational motion. And then obviously this is a direct contradiction. Now, Einstein says that his equations apply in a curve where it's uniformly, or any polygonal circuit that's in uniform rotation.
Okay, don't worry about the distraction, Joe. I appreciate it. My attention span's fucked. And so that's why I have to keep forcing myself back to this, so that I get through it, because there's not a lot left of the actual debate, I don't think, and I'm gonna try to work my way through it. Okay, so I want to explain interferometry one more time. I started explaining it before. I think I got distracted. If the laser interferometer is on a moving surface, guess what? The laser, the light from the laser, it's the same beam, gets split, goes around in two circles, recombines. If there's a fringe shift, there's an interference pattern where they don't meet up at the exact same time. That device is in motion. People probably remember the laser interferometer that was apparently they paid $20,000 for it. It's the type used in an airplane. It's a laser gyroscope, basically. Thanks, Bob, and rest in peace. Bob Noodle's gyroscope measured a 15 degree per hour drift. Wonder why the fuck that was. This does not undo relativity. It's what happens to this type of device. It does not support Aether. It supports that these devices are on a moving frame. The frame they're on is moving because as the interferometer moves, a laser interferometer is moving, the interference pattern comes where the light actually has to travel a greater distance than the other one. One of them is moved a little bit by physical rotation where it's trying to get to, and the other one is moved a little further away. One of them has to go a further distance to get back to the recombination point. This recombination point is physically the same distance at a rest state, but when you move it, that point is getting closer to where the one path of light is going and further away from the other. You're helping it move in one direction and you're making it harder in the other. This is not hard to understand, and it's because C is constant. Because it's moving at the same speed. It's not going one direction through water and the other direction through air. It's going through the same medium. C is constant. And relativity says that C is constant. C being constant comes from relativity. I said that before. I'm saying it again. This is not... I don't know what this paper is. It doesn't seem like they're doing a very good job at using this paper to defend themselves. They brought it up. And I will say that the flat earthers in Jaron's comment section believe at this moment that Alan has, and so one of them put it, flat smacked them. And they're sitting there wondering why these guys are bringing this up and looking a little bit confused as to where this is going. Because Alan's saying this fringe shift is not going to happen in relativity. Doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to let him keep talking because I'm sure Alan is much smarter than I am and will make this clear.
So if you continuously do a curve, that's a circle. And if it's in uniform translatory rotation, motion, then his equation should apply. And the fringe shift pattern would either be no fringe shift pattern, or it would be much less than the velocity of the fringe shift pattern.
When,
Because it's a
when is the latest paper that you're citing on this topic as it relates?
2022.
Okay, perfect. So I have here another paper that seems to contradict what you're saying, and I'm not understanding the source of the contradiction. So this paper presents a relativistic explanation based purely on special relativity that describes the fringe shift that you're talking about. So is this then required? So there are two things tied up in this. I think you said that there's a preferred reference frame set by a geometrically convenient position. But I also know of another paper where they have a sort of more general approach to the Sagnac effect, where there's basically a difference in the way that the loop is centered, and they're still able to define the effect relativistically. So I'm not sure that is required for this.
It's absolutely required.
Well, why is it required?
If the speed of light is constant and you're in uniform motion, you measure C as C, and you measure it because of link contraction and time dilation in the moving frame. So if you're in a uniform transitory motion, relativity predicts that C will be C. And if C is C, then it's going to complete the circuit at the speed, and there's going to be no fringe shift pattern. It's going to combine at the same time. But there's not.
This paper is directly contradicting what you're saying. So, I mean, obviously, I'm putting you on the spot to speculate on this. We could read this paper more in detail at a later time.
Okay, I'm just gonna say it sounds like this is dueling papers. I don't think we're gonna get anywhere with this. I might fast forward it a little bit because I think we're gonna get some back and forth here. I'll let them talk again some more. But interestingly, Lucas, who's C Line Prime, points out, well, I have a paper where they measured it differently and they got the same result. I feel like I just fucking said that like 10 minutes ago. That you can take measurements from different places and get the same result, because where like relativity says it doesn't matter where you are as long as you account for it. And what you see, how you see it, if you're far enough away or moving at a different enough speed, relativity comes into it. So I don't know. We'll see if we get somewhere else with this.
I just don't know that this is an accurate statement of how special relativity approaches this problem. And then I kind of going back to this, the implication of this would be what? A non-constant speed of light in an absolute reference frame or a preferred reference frame? What would be the implication of what you're saying about the Sagnac effect? Because I dispute on just the papers that I've read, and I'm citing one in particular right here, that what you're saying is not correct.
The implication is that all velocity is measured with respect to the ether.
Okay, and the ether, you said, is within your absolute lab frame.
Yep.
So, okay, let's dig into that. But there's also an ether wind.
Well, let's stick with the Sagnac and the derivation.
Yeah. But I'm trying to understand the Sagnac effect in relation to the ether, because that's the distinction.
You're explaining it with a rotation, right? That's what this paper is saying, and that you're ignoring the linearization and generalization aspect of it completely. Is that where we're at?
No, and that's not what I'm saying. So when it comes to the Ruoyang Yang and the linearization, that's an attempt to apply a different interpretation. But I can also show you a paper. It's an attempt to apply a different interpretation to the Sagnac effect, one that has never been empirically demonstrated.
He did it 3 times. Did it 3 times.
So let's. I have a direct paper that speaks to. I have it right here. I have a paper that speaks to specifically the issues. This is
it's not a rotational effect. So using a rotational frame to describe it is kind of silly, right? Is that your
argument?
It
is a rotational effect, as a matter.
Of course not. That's what Ruoyang Wang proved in 2001.
He didn't actually prove it. So when you look at the actual derivation here, and this is also kind of strange because you seem to have imposed this arbitrary standard on us that we can't use certain forms of mathematics. But now what you're saying is, well, this person did a certain transformation and seemed to suggest that.
I'm just jumping back over here. I feel like the chat just like dried up after Joe sharing his distraction. I don't know these papers well enough. They are doing dueling papers. I'll let them keep talking about it. Hey, Dave, welcome. You want to know about Yetis and Grassman and Bigfoot? Hail the Bigfoot or the Squatch, the Yeti, whatever it is. It's out there somewhere. I think Dave's going to help us find it. Yeah, I'm going to say this dueling paper thing is interesting. What's interesting to me about this dueling paper thing is Shane, who's doing a lot of smirking and weird faces and feeling like he's winning, and he actually posted. I don't think the side chat's coming out like super legible on Jaren's screen there, the one I'm sharing. So I'm just gonna say he said this is going exactly like I thought it would. We're like we're just completely destroying these guys. I have no idea what they're talking about, and I'm well aware that that's the point of view on both sides. And so I try to check myself on that and realize and understand. I am under the impression that that the science I've investigated, learned about, and done personally is all accurate, and that other scientists are all doing accurate things and not trying to deceive us. Now, if someone brought up some brand new thing, and this is something I face in my volunteer work all the time, is people with like pharmaceuticals, people with apps, people with treatments of this kind and that kind. And we even see like people will come and advertise something or bring us something to a conference, and I get a chance to see it. And some of it's really good, but when it's the first time, the first kick at the can, some of it just reeks of bullshit. And rather than assume it's bullshit, I like to go investigate it a little bit, and I'm often right if I start digging into it. But sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes I know there's something here, something we should look at. One of the other things that we learn and notice as we go through this, and I did a presentation last fall with some scientific researchers, and this was in biology and pharmaceutical type research and treatment modalities. It takes a long time to get something through. You don't just test it once and say, hey, we tested 10 people and 7 of them did better. Let's take this to market. That's just 70% of the people have showing an improvement. That's reason to do another test, another study, another look at something. There's something to look at here. That's all it's a proof of. It could be a fluke. And so Shane saying this has been done 3 times. Good comment. Yeah, you got 3. You've got 3 papers. Apparently what Shane's going to bring up is 3 peer-reviewed papers in known scientific journals where they're known to be reasonable and allow this stuff to be checked out and looked at by multiple experts in the field, in their own field, right? What's interesting to me is I think there's a lot more than 3 papers on relativity that back up relativity. And this linear translation thing is interesting. I'm going to have to look into it more and find out what they're talking about. But I'm going to let them talk about it because I'm assuming they'll talk about it. And if there's something there, I'll come back and explain it. I'll do a show on what Shane St. Pierre brought up here. These 3 papers may have upended the entire relativity and all of modern physics. It's possible those 3 things that Shane's sitting on, there were 3 times the experiment was done and provided this other result, or 3 papers that showed they did it. That is interesting. It seems unlikely. And then you have to get into conspiracy theories. Well, that's true, but everything else everybody came up with was it's just the government trying to convince you that relativity is true because taxes are higher in a world with relativity versus Aether. I mean, you got to think about what are the entailments of if Aether cosmology is true, what does that mean? What does it entail? Like, certainly the technology I'm using to speak to you all right now wouldn't work if relativity wasn't true, because relativity and the speed of light are things that come up. These guys brought up GPS satellites and communication with them. Relativity allows us to make them work. If we didn't allow for relativistic calculations in our communication with those satellites to give us global positioning, telecommunications, and observations of the universe around us and of our own Earth, you know, that would be interesting. But what I want to know is how much more would I have to pay for a hamburger and eggs and fresh fruit at the grocery store if the government was hiding the Aether hypothesis? Explain that to me. It's because it's often a conspiracy theory, and it's not one that holds a lot of water. Anyway, it's fun. It's fun to think about. And I also just want to say, Dave got a couple little purple feet from Crystal. I don't know if those feet are purple in real life, but they look purple to me on the StreamYard app, which is a web app. So they're just everybody should look and describe my channel and share it so that I get a whole bunch of more people, so that I can have emojis, and then I can have fun emojis for all the people that come by here. And you know, it'd be fun. I have to think about how to do that exactly, but I definitely would have one of Crystal wrestling an alligator. Oh, Victoria has little paw prints. Yeah, you know what, Victoria, your little paw prints are also purple looking on my screen. Anyway, let's play this some more, see what they say. Maybe Shane's about to school us all.
That rotation could become linear. And what I'm telling you is that this paper right here, which I have a copy of, I can certainly send to you. And this is from Spavieri et al. It basically goes through, and I have the DOI. I can send you the citation. It essentially shows that Ruang Wang essentially was just basically doing what you accused us of, which was some sort of mathematical trickery. And that's supported by the fact, no, that is correct. And it's supported by the fact that there's never been would you agree that there has never been demonstrated a device based on the linear Sagnac effect to measure linear motion in that way?
He has a patent for it, doesn't he, Alan? But anyway, that's not what I asked you. That's not what I asked you. There's plenty of patents out there that don't lead to you said that it's not a rotational effect. It absolutely is, and it was linearized, meaning that the travel time difference is proportional to the area enclosed by the path of the angular velocity of the rotation, right? Well, hold on, dude. Right, hold on. You've been talking an awful lot, right? What are you getting scared for? It's all right. So, like, when you're saying that it's not a rotational effect, and then we're saying that it actually is observed in a linear system.
Can you mute your mic, please?
Yeah, just mute it, please.
Sorry,
We're saying that it is observed in a linear system. That's what Ruang Wang proved with his paper. That's what the mathematical formula is derived from, right? It can be, by the fact that it can be derived, negates your position. By assuming that light travels in relation to a fixed laboratory frame. That is the whole point. Without that, they wouldn't be able to do this. This is, in fact, the direct contradiction to your supposed paper explaining the Sagnac effect with yet another rotational system. What do you think, Alan?
Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem with that, because I can provide another paper which specifically critiques the methodology of Wang and proves that all he did was reset the coordinate system in a way that made it look linear. And that's supported empirically by the fact that there has been no device ever produced.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
do you understand how revolutionary this technology would be if what you're saying is true?
What was the shape of his interferometry?
Hey, Sila,
right here.
What did it look like?
we're still within our time, right?
Come on, Peter. What did it look like?
You get both have.
Okay, this is Sumami. Welcome. Yeah, Joe, Bree, and Marguerite have Bigfoot emojis. Yeah, and you know what? I would make a Sasquatch emoji or something. So yeah, build my channel up because well, I'm not saying I don't need the money, because right now I need money, but usually I don't need the money. I'm not going to try to make money off of YouTube unless somehow I break out as some amazing hit YouTuber. But I really think I need to be 20 years younger and have a much tighter body to do that, at least from what I see. But anyway, that's I can't sell my body on the internet unless people want to see me lift up heavy shit once I'm feeling better, which maybe I'll do. Maybe I'll do that. Let me know. People can comment. Let me know. You want to see me do some workouts and strength building and returning myself to a fitter self and more endurance. My body needs more endurance, more cardiovascular, muscular endurance, so I can get back to work. So I'm gonna be doing some more of that. I've been doing it every day. So yeah, it's interesting here. Now, just I don't know if anybody's paying attention to the image, but for some reason Shane and Peter keep getting swapped to different sides of the screen, but the name tags stay where they are. So Peter's actually the guy on the upper right here, but and Shane's the guy with the goofy grin on his face because he thinks he's got something here. Patents are not the same as a peer-reviewed paper. A lot of times with a patent, you can go and sort of prove you've got something novel. It doesn't have to work. It doesn't have to be. It actually have to be something. If you prove you got something new that isn't copying someone else's thing, and you go get a patent for it, you pay money for it, and get it reviewed, or you have a patent pending, and that like you've got something that you're hoping to get a patent for. I don't know. I think at this point, I don't think I could get this, but like if I came up with a perpetual motion device and like drew it all out and I had blueprints for it, explained how it worked with a small essay or something and dropped some money off at a patent office, I could probably say I have a patent pending. Might even be able to get someone to sell me the fucking patent. I don't know. That doesn't mean it exists. It doesn't mean it's right. And it doesn't mean that physicists in the relevant field have checked out what I've come up with and confirmed that it works and that I've got it right. I think that's something that's misunderstood about how science works. Science is a huge thing. It's not one thing, but there's all these little compartments to it, and a lot of science is done compartmentalized. And I've been trying to decompartmentalize medicine in my work, which is a tough job. Because there's a mentality of like you've got to sort of hide what you're doing from other people until you get it right, so that when you get it right, you get you get treated well, you get credit and all that kind of thing. And because you want to make sure you're getting grants, you want to make sure your work is getting recognized. And I think if you put a lot of work into something, you definitely should get recognition. But if you worked with other people on it, you definitely want them to get recognition too, or at least I would want to. Like if I worked with everyone here in the chat on something, I want them all to get fair credit for what's being done, because that's just the right thing to do. And I've pointed this out many times before, but very few things get done by a single person. And even Einstein, who gets a tremendous amount of credit, he's a super smart guy. He was a super smart guy. Came with a lot of stuff, like really just an amazing character in science, not just because of his character, but because of how clearly he thought through very difficult problems and came up with some really great breakthroughs in science, and didn't live to see all of them. He lived to see them come to fruition, but didn't live to see it all come together the way it has. And many things have been proven or reproven or like even better proven or honed down because the technology that's come into existence since his passing is tremendous, and much of it on the back of his own great work. I think what we need to remember, though, when we think about this is he didn't do that alone. He worked with other people. He had colleagues. He exchanged letters with colleagues because back in his day, email wasn't a thing. Calling people on the phone might have been to a certain point, but calling people on the phone over great distances was extremely expensive. And he did get together with people and worked at institutions where he met with and spoke to people. But he often would write letters where he'd explain things. And some of those letters have been kept and people refer to them because they're really interesting. Today, we have some of these processes are streamlined and people dig further and further into smaller and smaller pieces of things to prove something. But to say that somebody has a patent is a pretty shitty backup. Not going to say it disproves anything, though. And it's also interesting that Lucas recognizes what's going on here. I don't know this work, but he recognizes what's being brought up here, and he realizes that there might be some something, maybe not nefarious, but certainly duplicitous might be at play in the background. not in terms of necessarily what Shane or Alan think. They may be taking at face value what they read. Joe, that's a great emoji. I don't know what that is. It kind of looks a bit like me when I wake up in the morning. My eyes look kind of like this, you know. I think that's what that is. Anyway, let's play it some more and see what we get to.
Have about 15 minutes left.
Okay. I have an idea how to get us out of this conversation. I'm worried that the audience might be asleep at this point. The Sagnac effect is, it is my favorite topic, but may not be everybody's favorite topic. So what I would like to say is this. We all agree that the human intuition is that there should be an absolute reference frame. We have presented a case that through empirical study of nature, people have arrived at the conclusion that an absolute reference frame does not exist. And when you look at the Sagnac effect, and you look at the explanations that are supportive of special relativity, they consistently explain that effect. It is a difficult effect, and it's to explain, and it's normal that many people are confused by it. I'm sure our audience is. If you've ever gone to took a course on relativity, they threw at you different mind-bending problems to solve. And when I did that, I often got them wrong. But when someone told me where I got them wrong, it became obvious to me why they were correct and I was wrong, because I could think through them with their help. What you're showing, Alan, is a number of papers by other people who are trying to wrap their heads around the Sagnac effect, and they took a specific position and they thought it broke special relativity. What Sea Lion is showing is another set of papers that are completely consistent, provide consistent explanation with special relativity. Trust me, the four of us are not going to solve this here because these are difficult problems. But what you're presenting as some kind of conclusive evidence that special relativity is broken is countered by Sea Lion's equally valued evidence that they're not. And I would wager that those have more support in the physics community than yours.
Yeah, I think Peter just said more or less what I said, and he said it better. And I want to say hi to Sumami, who makes a good point about when you got to wait for money to come in. And Tori, welcome. I'm glad you've been here. Hopefully, you've been enjoying the conversation. Peter said this really well, and they got. I was going to say this fringe shift seems to be more of a shift between Peter and Shane's location. And I've said before, Sumami's vocation gets a lot of heat and a lot of hate and distaste for it, but it's an important vocation. It's a well established vocation and one that deserves respect. And so, in case anybody's wondering, anybody disrespects Sumami is disrespecting me, and I'm not cool with that. And nobody's doing that. I just want to point that out because some people have very strong opinions about that. And I want to appreciate Sumami for what she does. She's a hardworking woman, very very passionate about looking after her pets too. And I see new movements of Sumami's cat herd on a regular basis. It shows, call me names all day long and hate on smut, and we got a problem. You know what? It's I'm not saying it's not an issue fraught with problems, and I won't get into the depths of it. I just want to say, hey, if you never looked at it, that's fine. Don't look at it. If it's being legally produced with consent and people are making a fair living on it, leave them the fuck alone. Don't buy things you're not into. Do buy things you are into, and be safe, be consensual, and be fair to people. Respect people. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so we're gonna move on again, but Peter's got some very valid points here, and they sort of mirrored what I said, and I could be sort of glossing over some of this, but yeah, there's a lot of experiments that validate and verify relativity, including the muon ones that we were talking about before. They've already brought up. So these papers and these mathematical transformations don't necessarily do anything. And thanks, Crystal, for popping that in there. Yeah, Sumami's business is your cup of tea. Please go and see what she sells, and if it's your cup of tea, please participate. And make sure she's not worried that the payment's coming through. But yeah, I'm sure that has something to do with the way the internet works on payments. So let's run this again. We'll get back to this conversation here and see what they're coming up with. I'm going to also point out that Shane and Alan have more time on the clock because Lucas and Peter have done more explaining. I do think they've run ahead and talked more than they necessarily had to, but I do that all the time, so I ain't going to complain about it.
I would still like to know who Yuri Goliath is.
And the other question. Sorry, go ahead.
You're good. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the other thing that we need to focus on that's really specific here is that we have not been able to narrow down if there exists an absolute reference frame. Your claim has been that we can therefore measure the one-way speed of light, and you claim that we did it with GPS, and that's clearly not within the context of an experiment. So do you have another experiment that suggests the measurement within an absolute lab frame of a one-way speed of light?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Do you see why that's a problem?
No.
Okay.
You see why it's a problem that relativity theory can't predict a friendship pattern without invoking an absolute frame? Do you understand that? Do you understand that why neither?
He just showed you that it can.
Stop. Not without a geometrically convenient position, dude. You want to see what relativity predicts for two observers in uniform transitory motion? It predicts no fringe.
Okay, when I read that guy,
guys, can you just let him finish? He's letting you guys talk.
When I read that guy's paper, I'll find the geometrically convenient position for the transformation that's in there. Okay, because relativity doesn't predict a fringe shift pattern. Now, number two, see, where was I at before you interrupted me? The Ruyong Wong's device, you talking about a coordinate system obfuscation or something like that? That's retarded. The fringe shift pattern is derived here based off of the delta. Sorry, you're right. The delta L is the effect.
I'm glad he called him out on that. Sale on Sims packs, and I just got 3. Oh yeah, Sumami's video game fan, and player. I am too. Rare treat. I actually spend human dollars on gaming shit. Yeah, Sumami. Every once in a while, you got to splurge on something like that so you can enjoy what you're playing. I spend a very small amount of money on like video game I like to play. I've got a couple of them I like to play. One of them I've been playing is SnowRunner. Let's get back to the debate here. I'm easily distracted. I'm glad that Lucas brought this up again. But I gotta say, I think this is gonna go. This is gonna go fuck some shit up with the conversation. It's not fucked up scientifically. It's just I think this is gonna take them on the wrong path. I'm sort of predicting this is a problem. I don't know how Alan ever thought that GPS is a one-way speed of light measurement of any kind. That makes absolutely zero sense. It's a totally fucked thing to say. I also appreciate that the R word, which not everyone considers a slur, I consider it a slur. It's a slur in my community, in my country. It's not a word we use that way. It used to be, and I want to say I'm glad Lucas called that out, and I'm glad Alan apologized for it. I don't like it when they use that word. It's a word used often in this conversation. I don't think it's a good one. It is a word with meaning in other things, just like many other words. Context is important. Like for instance, we have fire retardants, which are things that slow down fires. I worked with in construction. We also have engine brake retarders is another word, or engine retarders are words that are used in trucking. And those words aren't offensive if used in context. And is anybody else saying anything here? No, we're good. We're good. Yeah, Joe and Sumami are chatting about Sims. And so this is interesting because I know Victoria's knowledgeable about this subject. So uniform transitory motion in different inertial frames, you get the same result. Well, that sort of makes sense, because if the motion's uniform and you see it from frame 1 and frame 2, frame A, frame B, whatever, you're gonna get the same result, but you're seeing it from two different places. It's not that it looks like it's in a different place. It doesn't look like it's moving differently, but you got to do the math to see where you got it from. Like, you have to allow for where you're taking it from. Things will be in a different spot. Anyway, I'll go back to playing this. They're getting down in time on the debate, and we'll just see where they get to here. I can't remember how this will go.
Effective link of the apparatus right here, just the part that's in the motion. So when he did the parallelogram configuration, where it's just the top linear portion, that's the only portion that it's measured with. So with respect to what is 4 pi velocity delta L over c lambda, with respect to what is that measurement made to? If it's a linear device.
Well, I dispute that it is actually a linear effect, and the reason that I dispute that is twofold. I have a paper that I see it, but I don't just simply believe a paper on its face. I need to think about it within the proper context. So what you're describing is completely at odds with all other characterizations of the Sagnac effect, and would be so revolutionary as to create an entirely new class of devices. So I find it difficult to believe that this paper is accurately presenting what it's claiming to present, particularly in light of not seeing a physical apparatus, not seeing the full data set, and having another paper right here, which I can provide to you, which breaks down the definitional problems and problems with the way that this experiment was set up that invalidate it. So I'll ask you again, what evidence is there that an effect that would be worthy of a Nobel Prize has ever been implemented outside of this claimed lab frame?
Well, he patented his work, and then right now there's 3 companies that have patents on similar devices. Now there's nothing in production. Now there's nothing available for commercial use or whatever. But let's say that this device did, work as intended, right? He got the equipment on loan from the military, right? And he patented it. This is the second experiment that he did. After the first experiment, he filed for the patents for everything, and then he did this one, right? Now, if they're using this or whatever, it would be, classified.
Okay, I'm jumping in here. And it's basically giving evidence for it. Yeah. There we go. Victoria, excellent here. And Sumami, I don't know what you're sorry about, but you don't need to be sorry. I'm Canadian, so I do a lot of that. Victoria's also Canadian, so I'm not gonna say she says sorry all the time, but we do tend to say sorry all the time, but usually because we just checked you into the boards, knocked out a few of your chiclets. All right, here we go. I'm thinking about what's going on here, and I see okay, yeah. I'm not gonna touch that, Joe, because I know it'll take us down a crazy path. I'm just gonna say, appreciate very much a lot of the people in our community. Yeah, I don't say sorry all the time. Oh wait. Yeah, Victoria, that's, you know what, here we are getting into apologies. Anyway, that's this whole thing here is interesting. Now, it's possible that what Alan's saying here is that because patents have been filed and other companies are trying to get some patents that are related to this, that they've somehow upended all of science. It's also possible that Alan misunderstands this, because as was pointed. I think MC Toon pointed this out, and it seems pretty clear to me that Shane and Alan are out of their element, so to speak, dealing with this. I think the masks are beyond them. A lot of the masks are beyond me still. I'm working on it. I'm trying to improve my math skills. I'm not there yet. And MC Toon, I believe he said last night, and I think he was right about this. MC Toon said last night, and this was an interesting observation, is that he didn't think that either Shane or Alan had the math skills to handle or work this out. And he may or may not be right, but it seems like they're both flashing stuff up and saying, well, this guy believes this, right? Anyway, that's where we're at with this. I also I'm gonna let this play again, and I'll probably say a few words at the end of this thing. I'm trying to get through it all without doing it all day long, but it's already almost 2:00, so I don't know if I'll make it through the whole thing. I don't know if if I don't make it through the whole thing, I'll come back and look at it. They made this a lot harder than they needed to themselves. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's harder because they're trying to defend a position that's really hard to defend because it's wrong. It also feels like they've cherry picked a few things that they think back up their position, and I'm not even sure that they do. And as Victoria pointed out, they're giving evidence for relativity. So see where we're at here.
They're using this for military.
So an existence of a patent is not empirical evidence for a scientific claim.
You asked if anyone had a device. We said there was a patent.
The answer is no.
Agree.
Just say no, and let's move on.
Let me ask another question, though, because it's really important.
How about you answer a question?
Yeah, I've answered plenty of questions. So I think the next thing I wanted to get to, though, that's really important is, again, we have not had a constructive difference between the ether as we've contextualized it. We've provided, nothing but evidence that our conception of ether within the framework of Einstein, and I can provide you with many other papers. So, for example, there's the paper from Jacobson and Mattingly in 2000 that define a fully compatible theory of general relativity based on a dynamical unit time-like vector field, which they call the Aether, which fits all of our definitions and all of the ways that we've contextualized it. So your only distinction of your ether and our ether and which theory should be preferred in this context is the existence of an absolute frame and the ability to measure an etheric wind that explains these interferometer effects. Do you agree that that's true?
No, neither of you agreed to get on the train with a bomb, so you know there's an absolute frame.
That's not a fair argument.
So let's think about that.
Then tell us you would get on the train then. Tell us you'd get on the train then, dog.
Tell us why you won't.
I'm already on the train. I'm on the train already.
I got 2 train tickets. You got both of you guys want them?
This fucking train thing. Oh, Joe. Yeah. Okay. I will do that, Joe. Yeah. After I'll do that. Thank you. Yeah. So this is an interesting thing that Lucas has gotten back to. Which is say, like, do you agree that you believe there's an absolute reference frame and an Aether wind? The Aether wind isn't detected from what I understand about relativity. I don't think the Aether wind, lack of measurement of the Aether wind was brought up, other than I think the Michelson-Morley experiment deals with that. There's other experiments done, and I've seen some really good videos. If I find any, I'll share them on my channel. So if you're super interested in the topic, I'll try to find the ones I've watched in the last few months. I know I've seen one that explains the Aether wind, and like what they'd be looking for, right? Because if there is an Aether and you're moving, it's basically if there is an Aether and you're moving through it, that you would see drag, right? There'd be a drag or a wind pushing things. So I know I brought this up in the first day I did this debate review, and I was thinking about this, and this is something that I mentioned at Flursoft, and like they're like, how could we have? Why is our atmosphere not blown away by us? Traveling at 65 million miles an hour through the universe, or whatever it is they say it all adds up to. And I don't remember the fucking number. It's fast, and yeah, we are moving fast relative to the rest of the universe, I suppose. But the thing is, it's through a very low pressure system, and gravity is stronger than the lack of drag that a vacuum or a very near vacuum provides on our atmosphere. Some particles are lost to it here and there. There you can find very small amounts of matter in this low pressure system. That's why it's not a perfect vacuum, right? It's not, it just isn't. So it's interesting. They talk about that like as though we're in a convertible traveling through the atmosphere, but they don't understand we're not traveling through this other atmosphere. And so what would be happening here, right? Like what this would entail with this Aether wind is like, well, there's this material that we do move through that's like this invisible, undetectable thing, but we would see this drag so that when you're traveling in one direction, it'd be noticeable that that the object moving through it has this wind moving around it, and the way you test for it and what it would do to your observations. It's not detected. It doesn't matter what direction you move your apparatus in. It doesn't matter how you do this. Relativity is backed up. So this is, it's interesting. It's interesting that they're thinking through this. It's interesting they're going back to this. I really do feel like Alan and Shane, and I think 99% of the work was done by Alan on this, has cherry picked some papers. Shane's got a few too. And Shane's goofy grin. People are making fun of Shane's appearance, which is not fucking cool. I'm gonna say that, okay? Like, it doesn't matter what these guys look like. Please don't make fun of people for that reason. I was upset and didn't say anything about it because I know it doesn't go anywhere. But I really don't like it when people make fun of somebody's appearance. His goofy grin, though, his expressions sort of indicate how he feels about the topic. Like he thinks he's winning an argument, right? And Joe brings up an interesting question, and it's relevant and not going to take me down a rabbit hole too far. So, what do we know about the invisible, undetectable things that we don't interact with the natural world, Al? Well, Joe, I'm going to say we know fuck all about them because they either don't exist or don't want us to know they exist. Yeah. And you know what? I don't care what. Okay, so I make fun of Otangelo because he's got really bad arguments and he's an asshole. But no, like I don't know what Otangelo looks like. If people have seen him in person or like seen a video of him, I can't remember ever seeing what he looks like. He's a bloviating idiot with bad arguments. I shouldn't make fun of his lack of intelligence. I get that. Otangelo, don't want to give him the time of day. But I will say Otangelo has been exceedingly disrespectful to particularly members of the trans community, the LGBTQ plus IA community. And if I haven't said that correctly, please let me know. But he in particular, he was involved in a doxing type thing, and fuck him for that. Okay, he's a harmful bastard, and he holds terrible opinions that are unfounded and not nice. And if he would shut up about them, that would be fine. But when he both doesn't shut up about them and then tries to call on others to hurt somebody or puts people in a position where they could hurt somebody, yeah, fuck off. That doesn't give you the right necessarily to make fun of his appearance or anything else. And I don't want to make fun of people's voices because my voice is fucked up too, even though I get compliments on it all the time. It makes me self-conscious about it. So yeah. And and Joe, what Joe might be talking about here, because Joe's voice is the tenor of his voice or whatever is perfectly nice. It's what you say, not how you say it. Sometimes. But Joe may also be talking about the fact that there's another bias and stigma that people have about people with certain types of accents, certain types of upbringing, particularly in certain regions, will give you a combination of accents, and an accent to your voice, a cadence, etc., that's learned over a lifetime. And if you're brought up in that area, particularly southern U.S. is particularly known for it, but there's other places that have this. People will disregard what you say, how you say it. Oh, speech impediment. Okay, well, Joe, I also have a speech impediment. A couple of them. Don't know how noticeable mine is. I did take therapy for it, and my son takes speech therapy because he has some issues with some pronunciations, but also with some communication things having to do with being on the spectrum. And so I'm aware of that. And yeah, no, people shouldn't make fun of people for that. And I don't know if that's a situation that afflicts that other guy, but despite it doesn't matter about those personal things. If your opinion about other people is a shitty one, please don't spread it. And I am trying to help people be kind. And Joe, thanks for sharing that. I don't think I've really noticed it. I've also noticed there's other communicators that work really hard in our community and in other communities who have what I'll call noticeable issues with their speaking. And some would say, well, you shouldn't speak if you're not a well-trained elocutionist, and I certainly am not. I might like to be. I enjoy speaking. You can't really shut me up, and so yeah, I enjoy speaking. And yeah, yeah, no, Joe, you're right. I mean, this guy, he doesn't deserve the time of day, but the ammo about attack the ideas, not the people, is a good thing. A lot of the reason I show up is I'm not articulate. Y'all know, y'all hear me. Yeah. So, and Crystal, I very rarely heard Crystal speak, and I know Crystal brought to attention the fact that I actually could find her in a video where she was physically present, and not just physically present in filming, but also there. And that was really cool to see, because PC was like sort of a disembodied, what do you call it, an avatar who's always there in chat, and so you can't make any presumptions. But you know what, I think the southern accent and the regional accents and dialects across the US are interesting. They exist in Canada too. They're very interesting, and I'm sure they exist other places too. I know Brainless, who had stopped in earlier, he told me there's regional differences in the Dutch accent from area to area, and people can tell. Forget when he mentioned that a while back, maybe like a year ago. He said, you can, if I go to a place, people know where I'm from when I open my mouth. It's interesting, right? People just recognize it. I joke around with people about it because my Canadian accent is not very regionally noticeable unless I start putting on one, and I can emulate some of them, not really well, but I can emulate some of them from traveling and spending time in places. Yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, Crystal, thanks for plugging yourself so people can see who Crystal is. And Crystal's just a lovely, wonderful person, and I love her videos. So these guys are going on about this. I think it's right that they call this out. Jess and I sound similar. Yeah, so Jess and I are from the same. We're not just from the same area now. We live. Justin's French Canadian. So his accent's different. Yeah, we're not. So we are, but we aren't. So, but Jess and I have talked, and it turns out Jess is, I think, a fair bit younger than I am, so we didn't know each other. But Jess grew up in an area walking distance from where I grew up, and now lives in a region of the province that's not far away from me at all. I don't know exactly where her house is, but I know roughly what neighborhood she's in, and I travel to that area for work all the time. And it's not even a day trip. It's like I would go there and back and then do a bunch of other shit. I'd say it's within 2 hours of my yard, maybe a little bit further from my house. And there are some minor dialect differences in the province, but not a lot. Try the fries, curds, and gravy because can't spell it. It's poutine. It's poutine. You have to be careful not to mispronounce it because there's nothing wrong with people in the sex work industry, but poutine is, if you say poutine, it's a dish made with French fries, cheese curds, and gravy. If you say poutine, it is a slang, vulgar word for someone who is in the sex industry. So you have to be very careful. And poutine is pretty delicious. It's mostly a French Canadian dish, and they have some other ones that are really nice, like a tourtière, which is a meat pie and like a pie crust. It's wonderful. They make you hungry. Crystals, so I don't know if they're making you hungry for like alligator or fish, or what, but I don't think I've seen Crystal's entire back library, but I've seen a lot of peaceful, wonderful videos of what I call the bayou, which I don't know if that's technically what it is, but it looks like it to me. It's a marshy lake type area. And I think PC's boat and motor got kind of fucked. So I don't know if we're going to see those videos or if she was able to repair and get it back going. But it is a bayou. I know the CCR song "Born on the Bayou," which is a very popular song. And apparently those guys are from Southern California, so they weren't born on the bayou. But he can sing a song about all sorts of stuff, right? And I would say there's no lack of passion for where they're at, but and then you get guys like Jerry Reed saying a lot about Southern Louisiana life. And I don't know if Jerry Reed. I don't know if Jerry Reed is from Louisiana, but yeah, he shit got fucked up. Yeah, Crystal, I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to make you feel bad about it, but like it looked like your boat, the gunnels and the freeboard area looked like they were mangled up. And I know you said the motor was swamped, but the boat was swamped quite a bit, but it looked like there was structural damage to some parts of the boat. Yeah, Dave's got a great voice. Great voice. I got to work on my voice some more. My wife says I need to get voice training, and then since people like in real life, nobody ever says, "Hey, Al, your voice is great" online, but in real life, when I go and speak, people are like, "Oh, wow, your voice is so deep and commanding and all that stuff. But what the fuck are you gonna do about it? You're all over it. Can't do anything about it." Okay. Oh, you are over it. Okay. Well, you know what? PC. I'm gonna say this: your boat looks like it's made out of aluminum, and aluminum can be welded if you find the right person. You have to do gas shielded welding on aluminum, but people that know what they're doing can do a great job. And I'm really sorry. Yes, Seth. Dave, you do have a great voice, and so does Seth Andrews, who's fellow Canadian. I think he lives in. Does he live in Texas or Oklahoma or something? He moved to the U.S. and I guess he was a radio announcer, or he worked in radio. I think maybe he still does. I think he started as like a Christian radio person. You can tell it's a radio thing. Yeah. Well, and I also think like having the right equipment. Oh, your husband knows how to weld. That's great, Crystal. I don't want to presume what people know or don't know, but some people don't know that aluminum is something that can be repaired sometimes if you know what you're doing. He's got a welding machine. As long as he's got the gas shielding and knows what he's doing. If he knows what he's doing, you're gonna be back in business as soon as he's got time to deal with it and get his hands on some materials. I would imagine also like when a hurricane comes through, a lot of stuff gets to be in short supply because the roads can get cut off and the supply chains can get fucked up, and something you could buy at a Home Depot every day of the week becomes unavailable because the trucks can't get through, and it could take a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months to get back to normal or worse. So anyway, we're wishing Crystal really well. Jack of all trades. Yeah, you know what? It saves us money too, but it usually ends up my wife saying you're too busy at work to do this shit. No, you need to hold up your hand up to my ear next time. I don't know how that works. Dave, is that just that thing where you pretend you're on the monitor thing like this? Like, anyway, yeah, country boy will survive. You got a shotgun, a rifle, and a 4-wheel drive. Country boy will survive. I do have all of those. I have all of those. I'm a Canadian country boy. But yeah, you guys, you're in my thoughts. Crystal, her husband, absolutely. Yeah, so that's like when you have a monitor, you can hear yourself coming back. So I gotta do that too, Dave. I gotta learn how to project my voice. I don't think this $45 microphone I have could possibly do justice to the voice that people say I have in real life, and also with my lung situation and whatnot. I feel like my voice gets really. I've been doing a lot of coughing, and yeah, I don't think it works at all. It certainly doesn't translate through internet. When I listen back to it, I'm like, what are people talking about? But it's such a weird thing for people to go out of their way to tell me about, especially strangers. So I'm assuming it's real, but I don't know. We'll fucking find out, I guess. And I don't have the money to invest in something that would make it work. And I think internet audio often is pretty tinny anyway. You don't get that tonality from real life. And I think I'm overly obsessed with this only because it keeps coming up. And it makes me think, okay, I should do this. Camera mic is not great. Yeah, Joe. And that's and Joe, I've heard you on a couple of different devices. I think we've talked on a phone and a computer and a couple of things. And I've noticed a difference depending on what you're doing. Free mixer software. Okay, I should look at that. I've used Audacity and stuff like that to record my music in quotation marks, and that doesn't work very, very well because I don't know what I'm doing, but I should look into it. I have tried to sort of take out my pitchy, do some pitch correction type stuff just so that it's something that doesn't sound like a cat going backwards to a combine. Sorry to mommy for the imagery, but my singing voice ain't great. But I would like to do something with my voice more than just rambling at people for 2 hours on the internet. Anyway, there's some more of this video to go through, and I'll go through a little bit more of it. But I think we sort of gotten on a different tag. Maybe I should just wrap up the video call outs here and just say I'll watch the rest of the video and I'll do a wrap up. I'll do a short wrap up like I did with the Muon video, and I'll do it live, and I'll bring out the points because I think they're pretty much done. There's 10 minutes on the one clock, 15 on the other. These guys are gonna go. They're gonna go fuck things up. Shane and Alan are not going to understand why they're wrong. Peter and Lucas are not going to understand why they keep coming there. For myself, raw. I haven't played with any tools. Oh, so Dave, you've used Audacity too. Banana is the free version, and there's Voice Meter Potato. Okay, I gotta remember this shit here. If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna do this. It's voice. That it sounds like a joke, but I'm sure it isn't. Voice Meter Potato, Banana, and Audacity, but you got to play with it. Yeah, so I've tried to play with it a little bit. A couple of the things I recorded, including there's a song I recorded that is never allowed to see the light of day. It did once, and I was told I wasn't allowed to have it because I was making fun of Ben Shapiro. You used it to do call. Oh, I remember. Yeah, you were doing the call in, and you're using call in studio as well, right? Joe, I think that's right. And Joe, I got to remember to. I'm making a note here. Call Joe, or if I don't call you, I'll text you. Text you on DC, right? Text Joe on DC. I'll do that later. And I think I will wrap this up because this isn't going to go anywhere. These guys are going to fight each other. In Jaren's chat, they're just like, my paper beats your paper. My paper beats your paper. Well, some of the papers might. I don't know. Let's see. Just a phone line. Okay, and you Skype. Okay. So the studio. Okay, so you had to have a phone line to do it, I guess, and Skype. Yeah. Yeah, I find all internet-based audio has it lacks tonality generally, but some's better than others. And yeah, and it this mic I have, it looks cool because it's chrome, and I bought as a trucker, I had to buy a chrome mic, right? It's kind of cool. It's got this here. I'll stop sharing. I'll do this. I'll come back to these guys later because I'm literally what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back to these guys. So this is my mic. It's kind of like this, right? And this is blue. It's a blue snowball they call it. The return when you can afford it. Yeah, and you know a lot of money needs to be invested into equipment to do professional work, right? Like you can't do a truly professional job on audio and video stuff if you don't have good equipment. And here I'm borrowing my son's laptop here, and yeah, I mean it's a pretty decent mic. I'm assuming people can hear me clearly and all that sort of stuff, and there's no issue like hearing me. I don't think I come through with the tone and presence that people claim I have in real life. So, it's hard. And yeah, and when I've seen video playbacks of, it's always been like cell phone videos of me speaking, doing public speaking events that I do, which may seem like a weird thing for a truck driver to do, but that's what I work on. And last night we had another big meeting with our fellowship group. So, what brand your microphone is, Dave? I don't know. Is it Yeti? I'm assuming it's a Yeti, and I think the Blue Snowball is made by the same parent company. But I'm not sure. Dave, if you don't have a Yeti mic, I'm gonna be very disappointed. But only for like I mean, if I find out that you have some like high end equipment, then I'm gonna be like impressed in that regard. But it is a Yeti. Okay, well there you go. All right. It is a Yeti. There you go. Guess what brand of coffee cup I have? It's I think I've mirrored my video, which is good because it freaks me out when it's not mirrored. Yeah, I got a Yeti coffee cup. This is the this ring of paint worn off. That's from shaking in the cab of my freight shaker. It's worn the paint right off this thing. These things are great though. But yeah, Yeti paint can't stand a couple of years of hanging out there. The Green Goblin truck from Maximum Overdrive. Yeah, Bree, I don't know if I've some of the people here that I'm friendly with, I've shared pictures of some of my loads with, so they can see what I do for a living. But I'm trying not to overly dox myself or get myself or my business in trouble. So I don't send it around on videos. And I just try to separate the two. But yeah, I drive a Freightliner Coronado cab on a SD 122 chassis double frame. It's a big ass fucking thing. I haven't seen that Maximum Overdrive. I haven't seen it forever. And you know, that's not like one of my favorite movies that involves trucks. There's a few of them. There's also one called The Duel, I think, where there's like the truck in the car, like somebody does something to somebody and the truck like tries to, yeah, cheesy good time. Yeah. Because like, and yeah, the thing is super cheesy looking when you see photos of it and clips. Yeah, my truck is pretty a plain Jane sort of a truck. The company I work for looks after maintenance, mechanics, and stuff like that. And then we have a wash bay. We keep them as clean as we can, which is pretty decent. Oh, you've had a tree cutting crew. Yeah. The chippers and the chainsaws make a lot of noise there, Dave. Might make it hard to do a show, but you know what? Tree maintenance is important. Trees can do a lot of damage if they're not maintained. I have a lot of trees on my property to deal with. Grindhouse movies are yeah. You know what? I really want to get. There's Grindhouse Theater. I forget what it's called, but it's pretty cool. Joyride favorite truck movie. Okay, that's interesting. I hear my son rattling around upstairs. I can, you know, as far as scary movies, I'm not really into scary movies, but my favorite comedy is The Exorcist. Some people think it's a scary movie, but I don't. I think it's fucking hilarious. So yeah, and interestingly, I'm gonna end on this and see what people think, especially because Bree's here. Because Bree's a biology genius, or a polymath of many things, biology being well known. So the person I work with in my fellowship, there's a couple of sort of people that are liaisons, I guess, between patient partners, which is what I am, and the organizations, but also like, you know, helps get our get our work and our messages out to people in the profession and the general public. And she does a lot of these Zoom call meetings, and she does these things called icebreakers, where you get everybody to sort of come in, and they're fun. And the group we're with, we've had a whole bunch of these meetings, right? We do, hey, Commander, how are you? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing all right. So she does these icebreaker things, and been talking about all the different things that she uses. Like, sometimes we have conversations about the icebreakers. There's a small meeting, we won't really do a major icebreaker. We'll talk about icebreakers for bigger meetings, because you get a bunch of people together and they don't know each other. But it's almost funner to do icebreakers with people that you do know, because you start to get a guess as to what they might come up with, because you get to know them a little bit more. But it's hard when you only see people for 1.5, 2 hours every 2 weeks. And you've maybe met and talked to them in person. And for this case, there's a couple of people I've met multiple times, but most of the people I've only met in person once. It's still a lot of fun, though, to do these things. A lot of work too. There's a lot of pressure. And I think the meeting last night was don't feel too much pressure. PC has put up a big white sun. Which reminds me, I have the song. What do you call it? What the fuck did I call it? Well, anyway, it's the one where I sing about the flat Earth sun and how stupid it is. I think I did like a stream, but I started the stream by singing that song. Amityville. You guys are all over the damn places. Bookmarks. Oh yeah, tomorrow making fun of crazy Trump preachers. That sounds like fun, Commander. I hope I can make it by and see some of that. So we have a lot of fun stuff going on. So I've totally lost my train of thought. That's okay. It's probably one of those relativistic bomb trains anyway. So Bree, I'd like your take on this, but I want everybody's take on this. Here's my icebreaker. You guys ready? All right. What do you think is the hardest mammal to milk? That's my question. Put in the chat. What do you think? Which mammal do you think produces milk and it'd be exceedingly difficult to milk? A monotreme. You know what, Bree? I'm gonna say that it's probably some kind of rodent. Okay. Yeah, a bull. All right, a bull moose or a bovine. Joe, you got the platypus in Echinda. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Echidna, I think is how that's pronounced. I think I recognize it now that I say it a couple of times. I think I've heard people pronounce it echidna and the platypus. There was a cartoon about a platypus when I was a kid, but when I was in my early 20s, I think I saw that it existed. I don't think I ever saw an episode of it. So monotremes. I do not know enough about monotremes to know exactly how they are. I know that they're what I know for certain is that monotremes are a mammal that did not become the same sort of ubiquitous mammal with the pangolin. So real animals, not about moose and moose are real, Joe. They don't have nipples, just milk patch. Okay, that's interesting. But yeah, because nipples are pretty important. Perry the platypus. Yes, that's the one. Perry the platypus. I knew there was a platypus out there somewhere. And the thing says I'm losing people left, right, and center. Well, my personal thought is the toughest mammal to milk would be the blue whale, because it's really, really big. Like smaller whales, you might be able to handle them a little bit because they're not so enormous. But the blue whale, it swims, it can go up and down in the water, and you have to keep up with it. And it's also huge and yeah, there is maple syrup mafia as far as I know. There's definitely I don't know that we still have the same sort of things that we used to have, but we definitely have had in this country deep regulations by groups of different agricultural products. Whether or not there's an official or an unofficial maple syrup mafia, I can't remember. But I do think there was a thing where a whole bunch of maple syrup producers were doing something that was criminal. I sort of remember reading about that. Pangolins are not monotremes. Yeah, but what's a stereotreme though? That's what I want to know. Anyway, so yeah, whale is my vote for toughest mammal to milk. And I am talking about milk producing. I'm assuming generally female mammals are the ones that produce milk. Lactating whales are the ones I'm thinking of. It's real. It's real. A pangolin. That's what I don't know what you mean when you say that's what I'm talking about. But you're talking about the thing where there was like the maple syrup thing. I mean, between maple syrup and mammal milk, I don't know where we're gonna go. The thing is, what about almonds? Who's milking almonds? The honey badger. The honey badger. Do you think that honey badger milk tastes like honey? There's a question for you. Anyway, you can't always start like if you're doing a professional thing and you start talking about milking different mammals, like it can get to the point where maybe things are like a little off kilter, but lactation of mammals is not, it shouldn't be like a taboo subject. And if you're bearing a child and you're able to lactate and you're able to feed your milk to your child, it's an excellent way to go. It's not the only way to go. No one should be shamed for not being able to for any reason. But human milk seems good for humans. I'm starting to sound like fucking Ken Hovind. So I don't want to go down that road. I think human milk's good for humans. Cow milk is good for cows. I find it interesting that we have trouble digesting milk after a certain age, but we still keep drinking cow milk. So I think like the dairy industry is a funky sort of a thing. There's so much water to grow; it's actually harmful to the environment. That does not surprise me, Crystal. And yet I still love almonds, and cashews. And cashews apparently aren't a nut. There's something else. Oh, you're giving the hairy eyeball to California there, are you? It used to be the California raisins. Now it's the California almonds. You know what? I think there's nutty people across every state and province and territory for that matter. Rest of the world, I'm not so sure about. But I tell you, I love my neighbors, but they got some crazy ass fucking people down there. They had a president down there that just was a piece of work. And then a couple of presidents after that, they got this guy on there, and the only thing he'd ever accomplished was bankrupting a bunch of companies and being on a reality television program, and they made him their fucking president. So you never know what your neighbors are gonna do. They can be fucking funny, they can be fucking scary, but you got to be careful. Yeah, and the truckers call it California. I think because they regulate things for the environment and stuff. I don't know if people realize how many cars there are in California. And California is a pretty big state, but it's not that big of an area. There's a lot of really built up urban areas. And California's efforts to try and make the environment better may seem like communist initiatives. People dislike them for all sorts of reasons. I'm not really sure what the communist sort of ideology is on that, other than if you allow people to elect a representative government, and that representative government represents the needs and wants of the people, I guess that is communism. This certainly isn't a representative democracy, because that would be where you vote in people that represent your viewpoints and they table them and pass them through after you elect them. Well, wait a second. No, sorry, it's not communism. California foreign has more people than I can and consider less space. Call me for Bree finds that funny, eh? Yeah, that's what truckers call it. That now, one thing that's like, it is frustrating because trucking companies are told, well, you can't enter California with a truck that's older than 5 years old or something, because they want better and better emissions regulations or whatever. Well, I got to tell you, you spend over $250,000 on a brand new truck and you expect to use it for 25 years, but you're not allowed to go to one big market on the West Coast. Yeah, you might get kind of pissed. I get that, you know. I would be pissed, especially if it was a regulation that came in. Significantly more people in Canada. I don't think it's significantly more people than Canada. I think it's a very similar population to Canada and significantly less space. I could be wrong. Pish is newest fad, so they shouldn't push anything that's not sustainable in a positive way. People scream communist, Matt, California. It's just mean spirited. Yeah, it is. You know, you're right. You're right, Commander. And Californication from Joe there. Yeah, I know you're not wrong. But the thing is, we all fornicate all around the world. I mean, California has not. If California was the only place where people were fornicating, well, let me tell you something. It'd be the only place with a growing population, and it's not. So, yeah, I mean, I said I wouldn't get into politics, so I'll try not to go into that. I sort of handled a bunch of this debate. It's kind of taken a turn because I think we've sort of gotten to the end of we're getting into the last little bit of the debate. Like I said, I'll review the rest of it. I'll do a little wrap up video where I deal with the last few minutes of it. I'll play anything I find relevant, but rather than sort of do it as a go, I'll listen to the last bit of it. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, Bree. I'm pretty sure it's around 40 million each. I could be wrong. Canada is not a huge place population wise. It is the second largest landmass for geopolitical land masses in the world. We're second only to Russia. We have a very few people spread pretty thin in some places, and yeah, we're at I think it's something like 8 to 10 million. I'm pretty sure it's just over 8 million live in the general area that I live in. So that's like pretty close to a quarter of the population lives right in my sort of general neck of the woods. I live in a rural area away from a lot of the people, which I like, but it's kind of it's kind of interesting because we have like some big cities with very dense populations, a lot of development there. It's a good place for me to live because there's a lot of things happen here because there's a lot of people spending money on stuff. And so being either when I was in the construction industry and now that I'm in heavy trucking, people need that stuff, right? Yeah, I know you're right. You're right, Joe. I think that 80% live close to the border. Most Canadians below the 40. Yeah, and that's the thing is I'm below the 49th parallel here. So yeah, and that's because Ontario and Quebec have some of the largest population densities. Alberta and BC also have fairly large population densities. They're above the 49th parallel. There's some places in both Ontario and Quebec that are above the 49th parallel. But the other provinces, the East Coast provinces, the Prairie provinces, and the territories are all pretty sparsely populated, especially compared to other places. And so what's interesting is you can drive across big highways in Canada and not see another soul for a long ass time, even on like Trans-Canada highways, especially if you do it at night. You travel a long way without seeing people because nobody's out doing anything because there's not a lot of people around. And in trucking, you'll travel those routes, right? And you'll see other trucks and stuff, but you don't see people out and about in certain areas. Center of the world on a flat earth. Yeah, well, I mean, it's the center of my world. Anyway, I am wrapping this up. I want to thank people for coming. I appreciate the support of everyone in the community. I do want to promote kindness, empathy, understanding. I am trying to understand the flat earthers and the Aether cosmologists, the globe centrists, all that stuff. You see Sasquatch crossing the road. Yeah, sometimes it's just a Kodiak Bree, but other times it's just me walking around with my top off, and other times it's a Squatch, you know. But yeah, I will. I'll probably do a music show. I'll definitely do a wrap up show on the Jeranism debate. It was an interesting one because it was something. Yeah, I'll message Joe. Yeah, because we're gonna party. Yeah, I will do that. Thank you, Crystal, for posting that again. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, me after a bath, please no pics. Victoria's claiming to be. I don't know if Victoria's claiming to be hairier than I am, but you know, it is cold up here, right? So yeah, Yeah, if you can send me unsolicited pics, but I have no idea what I'm gonna do with them. And that's not just Victoria, like anybody. I just if you got pics of a Sasquatch, just send them over. And if I think there's something, I'll get Dave on here. Dave was supposed to have me on his channel too. I've threatened to go on a whole bunch of people's channels and have people on, and Bria was going to have on my channel too to talk stuff. So we can talk about we'll talk about the crazy different animals that are out there, and Bree probably knows about them. I don't know about all the animals in Canada, but we have a few iconic ones. But I bet there's neat stuff up here that I don't even know about. So that was probably a good idea. Anyway, we're wrapping this up. I want to thank everyone that comes. A lot of the people that come to watch me make their own content. So please go give them a like. Visit. You send me unsolicited pic. Make you regret that. Yeah. Whale nipple pics. Yeah. Well, you might, Victoria. I don't know. Pencil in the desk when you feel it. You know what, Dave? And it's funny because I'm gonna have to have a chat with you about when to do that. But the next couple of weeks, I'm still gonna be off work. It's a good time to do it. Because doing it from the road's tough for like an interview type thing or a chat about a topic. I like being able to sit down at the desk here and do this. And I'm glad I feel up to doing this today. It's nice to do it. It gets me talking to people. It's a little bit of a socializing thing. My son actually came home from work because he's not feeling well. He's just resting, probably playing a video game, but he's just resting and chilling out. And I was going to do this anyway. So here I am. I'm doing it. Yeah. Check everybody out, as long as they're sending you pics, you might as well check them out. But no, I mean, YouTube channels and whatnot, there's great stuff here. Being procrastinating, yeah, vlogger. Yeah, no, Joe. Oh, well, Joe, I've actually been on Joe's channel. Yeah, I'll hit you both up on Discord. So we'll have a chat, and then Joe obviously has an idea, and I want to hear his idea. So we'll have a chat today if that's the day that works, or we'll text chat. Joe's got something in mind. I don't know if it's something that'll come to fruition out in the world. I have no idea what he's going to tell me. He's got an idea though. So we'll have a chat. That'll be great. And Joe's been doing some great content. You've had some great people on. His back library is full of great interviews. And same with Dave's. Dave's had some great chats with people. Appreciate everybody. I shouldn't have such long, weird goodbyes. Gonna say, everybody have a good one. And we'll catch you out there somewhere. And keep watching this space. Some more stuff's coming.